Hi, it's Devon Naika from Retirement Wellness SA. Now, today I'm answering the question from a member, which is when should you start planning your retirement from the GEPF? Now, this is on the assumption that you've already been through this decision of whether you should retire or resign from the GEPF. And this video is for you if you have made your decision to retire, not to resign. If you are in a position where you're not sure yet on whether to retire or resign, I encourage you to join the masterclass or get information that allows you to make that choice. And then this video can help you better if you're choosing to retire. And if you are choosing to resign from the GEPF, well, there's a separate video that discusses the process you need to follow in terms of your timing pattern. Now, as a start here, I want to share with you that planning your retirement from GEPF, it's really not the most appealing thing. In fact, if you have to think about the amount of time that you spend planning the purchase of your vehicle. So if you reflect on that, how long did you spend purchasing that vehicle? Can you think about, how many different dealerships you had been to? Can you reflect on how exciting it was to get the features of your car? Just the whole energy behind that, how different it is. And then if you have to think about planning your holiday, so the last time you went on holiday or each time you went on holiday, when did you start doing that planning? How did you feel when you were doing it? When you're researching let's say the destination itself, or you're researching the hotel that you want to stay at, what sort of work goes behind it? Now, for both of these, I'm pretty sure that you spent quite a considerable amount of time, and it's enjoyable. You see, it's something that you find a great deal of excitement with, and it's understandable. I mean, we all want to get a new set of wheels. We all love going on holidays. So because it's exciting, it's nice to want to spend more time with it. But when it comes to planning your retirement, now we're having to talk about things that are not as exciting. It's not as sexy as buying a new car or getting a new home. This is something that involves figures and calculations. And then we having a look at investing and markets and SARS with tax. So it's things that we tend to avoid. And because of that reason, because it's something that's not so appealing for you, there might be a tendency for you to want to leave this for the last moment, you see, because we don't really want to pay attention to that. And to use an example, it's sort of like an exercise bike, that exercise machine. You know the benefits of getting onto the exercise, but it's a struggle to actually get onto the bike or the exercise machine itself. It's that sort of feeling. But once you get going, you know you're going to get the benefits of it. So the same here, once you take the first step in terms of your planning, then it's going to become a lot easier. And the first step that I have for you is just simple. I just want you to make it to the end of the video. That's it. Just make it to the end of the video. And just by doing that, it's your first step in planning your retirement. So let's head over to the iPad. What I often notice from members, if you have made that choice where you want to retire from the GEPF, you might have this feeling that everything is all done for you. There's nothing more that needs to be sorted, meaning you've already got your planning done. I mean, the lump sum that GEPF is going to provide you. So that's given. You know what you're getting in terms of your gratuity. There's no work that goes behind it. You can't adjust that. You can't change it. So, do you really need any planning for it? And then it's also understandable that the income itself from GEPF is predetermined. So you already know that, which means, again, you're going to start to question what sort of planning do you need to do if those two key factors are already predetermined and provided for you. In addition to that, you'll be thinking about things like cap leave. You know that there's no decision to be made there because cap leave is going to get paid to you. And then another important factor in terms of medical aid, you know that you're still getting the subsidy. So it's something else that you don't have to make adjustments to. So all of these might make you want to feel that it's okay. There's no need to get into any planning now because these core elements are all taken care of. So then you don't have to focus on working on this. You can just enjoy yourself when you're no longer working. So I want to just guide you on to certain elements that you want to pay attention to. And let's start up with, and we can actually focus on each of these aspects that we're looking at right now. So firstly, in terms of gratuity, although it's something that is predetermined, you want to get your planning done around things like, what are you going to use this money for? So I'll label this need, right? So we're looking firstly at gratuity, but you want to look, what do you want to use this money for? So you sort of want to have a plan. Are you settling a bond here? Do you have any debt that you want to settle? Do you want to gift some of this? See, do you want to donate some of it, perhaps to kids or so? Do you want to get a new set of wheels? Do you want to do a renovation? And very importantly, do you want to do some kind of travel? Because this is something that maybe you want to do because you didn't have that luxury to do this when you were still working, or currently while you're still working. So this planning happens now. And the reason I'm encouraging this planning now is it's almost like if you look at what happens to people when they get the lotto. So when they win the lotto, a lot of people end up losing that money because you're not planning, you're not expecting to receive so much. So it's just out of the blue that you're getting this huge sum of money, and managing that becomes a challenge. So with your gratuity, chances are this is the biggest lump sum you've received in your life. It's possible. It's like that for most people, in which case you want to get the planning done ahead of time. And you want to start to analyze these aspects or more aspects just so that you have some sort of planning in place. Now, certain things that we don't see, which I want to share with you, which I feel are of particular importance, is you want to pay attention to tax on death. So at some point in time, you're not around, what are some of the taxes that come up on death? Because you might have insurance policies to pay out, or you might not. But either way, there's going to be some costs coming up. So whatever those taxes are, whatever those costs are, so we want to say taxes, it's costs plus taxes on death. You want to see, do you have enough saved for that purpose? You also want to pay attention to having an emergency fund. See, you want to keep some money aside so that if something comes up, remember, you can't go back to GEPF to increase your monthly income. And if you spend all the money in your gratuity, if all of this is gone, then you're in a bit of a stuck position. So it's nice to have what is called an emergency fund. So just having money kept aside that you can access again for an emergency. Maybe could be something small like changing your car tires, but again, you just want to have that liquidity to cater for that. Then you also want to bear in mind that in terms of your income, at that point that you're not around, it's only half going to your spouse. It's a reduced portion going to the spouse. Perhaps it might not be possible. If you have a look at it, is your spouse going to manage with that income? If not, we want to create some liquidity for your family. So for the people that you love and care for, you want to be mindful that you have them, that you're focusing on that. So this gives you 3 important aspects that you want to pay attention to for the gratuity. And I'm hoping you can see now, it's not just simple where we're working with this in place. There's a lot of other elements that you want to become familiar with, and you can only, again, do that planning if you get it done in advance. In terms of your income, we've touched on this. Now, you know that the income to your spouse or your kids, what happens when you're not around. But then I also want you to factor what happens to you. Because GEPF is going to be increasing your income. But whilst they are increasing your income on a yearly basis, you want to start to have a look at things that could change that income, which means there might be a lifestyle change. You might have to look after your grandkids. You might have additional dependents. So you want to start to focus on that to see, is that income enough? You also want to pay attention to what sort of tax is going to be on that income, because it's a taxable income and you only get what's left after the tax. Then you want to start to pay attention to what happens to your family. So when you're not around, can they manage and sustain that? And very importantly, you want to pay attention to inflation. Or let me rather say that the cost of living. Because your income with GEPF is going to increase by the rate that they determine for you. or that they determine. You don't have any control over it. Now, what you won't have control over also is the cost of bread, the cost of fuel, the cost of living. So if the cost of living is increasing at a rate higher than what your income increases at, then that eats away your disposable capital. And this is something that you want to start paying attention to. Again, you can do your planning early to make sure that you're getting that stuff done. In terms of cap leave, it's a good benefit that you're getting paid out. It's just what I want you to be mindful for here is from a tax perspective. The cap leave itself is going to attract a considerable amount of tax. So you want to be mindful that whatever you're seeing is not ultimately what you're going to benefit from. You have to factor the tax. Again, you can do some bit of tax planning in advance. In terms of medical aid, your benefit here is that it's being subsidized, but you still want to revisit the option that you were on or that you are on currently. Is that the best option to be on when you are no longer working? So after you retire, should you stay on that option or should you change to a higher or lower option? So these are the factors that you want to pay attention to. Outside of this, you also want to get things done like your will and other aspects of financial planning so that you have a complete picture done and it's not just you focusing on the money that's coming from GEPF. I hope you found this video helpful. I want to hear from you so that I get a feeling as to how you actually applying these techniques. Which of these 4 methods are you going to start working on first? And any other aspects that you feel would be important for you to do your planning. So post in the comments below and let me know. And if you're wanting some assistance to make this process easier for you, then I encourage you to reach out to me so that we can connect together and I can look and see how I can help you in the best way possible.